A Fox News alert, brand new video just into Fox News showing the exact moment of impact when the mother of all bombs blew up a terrorist hideout in Afghanistan. The attack taking out 36 ISIS fighters.
There it is through some sort of a night vision reticle. So what message does this strike send to the rest of the world? Here to weigh in, retired U.S. Air Force General Richard Newton. General, thank you very much for joining us this morning. So what message does this delivery send both to the fighters on the ground and also to the world?
Hey, good morning, Pete. Good morning, team. First off, this was an employment of a very large conventional weapon against a tactical target. And so General McNicholson, the commander of U.S. forces and allied forces in the region, has been given the authorities to use weapons at his disposal, and that's what you saw yesterday. You know, this was against it's a perfect target for this weapon system. It's a series of tunnels and cave complexes where, frankly, ISIS, you know, they're now using IEDs or in caves or in tunnels and so forth in this rough part of the eastern province on the border of Pakistan. And you can run, but you can't hide. And so this weapon, delivered by U.S. Air Power, specifically United States Air Force Special Operations Combat Talon II aircraft, did its job yesterday, as Ainsley obviously just reported.
Yeah, well, the president was saying, he was on the campaign trail saying that he was going to annihilate ISIS, and this is definitely a start. We need to remind folks at home, 36 ISIS fighters, no civilians were killed. These are the worst of the worst, and they want to come here to America and do the same thing here, so we're trying to stop them. What do you say to the liberals or to the mainstream media that's painting a picture of, we're not sure if this was a good idea?
Well, what I say to the American people, Ainsley, is that again, the president has given total authority to our combatant commanders, our military commanders in the field, and that they've got the authority to use these weapons. The fact that, you know, again, we say, you know, we mean what we say, and we're going to employ all capabilities. And Pete, you've been downrange. You appreciate the fact that authority has been given to our combatant commanders. You don't have to go through, you know, the politicians back in Washington, D.C. And that's going to be more effective use of U.S. capabilities, in this case, air power, to destroy ISIS. And again, that's part of the message to the American people. It's also part of the message to our allies and our adversaries.
Yeah, and adversaries, maybe even North Korea, they realize that. The Tomahawks, they also changed their behavior after that. The other thing is, let's be clear, there was also bad news earlier in the day when we admitted that we killed 16 Syrians that we thought were ISIS, and they weren't, in Syria. So there's a situation where, with that responsibility and freedom, come an additional responsibility to show you earned it. How we begin to correct that thing, I'm not being judgmental on the pilots or the intelligence, but we have to correct things like that because our adversaries run with it.
Brian, I can assure you that there is significant efforts and discipline within, you know, certainly our military operational chain of command to avoid, you know, casualties and so forth. But it does go to show the utility and the versatility, again, of in this case, U.S. air power, but combat power in general. Our combatant commanders, again, are given the authorities. They are disciplined in their approach. They are measured in their approach. They will strike targets. Again, if you're ISIS or if you're other adversaries, you can run, but you can't hide. And we're going to follow up with that.
General, if you're putting your geopolitical hat on here, if you're Kim Jong-un or if you're Tehran, what message does this send? Does it send a message at all? Obviously, there's a tactical and operational reason for using this weapon on the battlefield in Afghanistan, but there's other messages being sent as well.
There are. Let's step back. There certainly are strategic messages. It's not just necessarily the employment of this weapon yesterday, Pete, but overall. I mean, you've got certainly the last several weeks when the president, as I mentioned, has given authorities to our commanders. The fact that, you know, the TLAM strikes, the Tomahawk strikes that we did last week, if you cross red lines, if you put Americans in peril, or if you, again, are threatening our U.S. national security interests, this disciplined, strong U.S. national security leadership team, led by our president, will act accordingly. And it will give the authorities to our commanders to do their job that they've been trained to do, and that they will effectively use, you know, American firepower at their disposal.
And right now we understand that Russia is actually holding a meeting about the future of Afghanistan with Pakistan, China, as well as Iran. So they're having meetings about Afghanistan where we've had a military presence for the last 15 years. Incredible. General, thanks so much.
Thank you, General. Thanks for your service.
My pleasure. Thank you.
You're welcome.